Coach, I guess when you play in Tennessee, the guys were talking about, Coach Gray were talking about gang tackling there. What are challenges in making sure you do that?
Yeah, sure. So he presents a big challenge. Obviously, he's been a really good player in this league for a long time. So just how we tackle him, before we even get to the tackle, we've got to do a good job defending, being gap sound in the run game, defending the edges of the defense, not giving him holes to get into the second and third level. So up front, we got to do a good job disrupting him, not letting him get going. And then when we do tackle him, it's not just one guy. It's got to be all 11, and that's got to be the emphasis every play. Because you see the runs. I mean, it's all over the NFL for years that he's breaking, stiff arming, breaking tackles, things like that, and we can't let him get going. And so that will be about us, not about him, but how we play and prepare and the plan, how the guys execute their fundamentals, technique up front.
And Spears a good compliment for him, the young kid from Tulane.
Yeah, I think he's playing at a high level. Really do. He's playing at a really high level. Shifty runner, inside, outside, not just outside. He can run the ball in the middle. Really good receiver out of the backfield. Does a nice job blocking, picking up some blitzes and protection. Complete back. So it is really a good compliment when he's on the field. They don't lose anything. It's a good offense, and they know how to use those two guys. They complement each other very well.
How do you simulate a guy like him? Like, I know obviously the sort of tackle and break, that's the ground during week practice, but how do you simulate a guy like Henry?
Yeah, it's hard during the season, right, with the not full speed practice and not tackling, but tackling live. But as we always do every week, we emphasize tackling. We have a tackling circuit when we're in our full speed, not thud periods in team. Our full speed is populating the football, getting all the 11 hats around it every single time. And then what we got to do is just really focus on, when it comes time to the game, of how we're tackling, the proper technique, fundamental, eyes up, our chin is up, we're not jumping out, off the diving board, or, we're coming to balance, and we're striking, form tackle. And so all those things are important, because when you see guys not doing that, that's when he's breaking, stiff arm, he's cutting back on guys. But it's got to be an all-out 11 effort.
This defense is a market improvement from where it was a year ago. Obviously, we work here a lot because of it. What's the biggest key that has kind of turned this whole thing around?
Really, the players get all the credit. Those guys have done a phenomenal job putting in the work to learn not only the scheme, but their technique, and really being the best at what they do. And so we've got a smart group. Those guys work extremely hard in everything, in our meetings, in our walkthroughs, in our practice, and then also have to compliment our staff. Jerry Gray has done a phenomenal job with Steve Jackson, our back end, and the scheme and those guys. I think Frank Bush and Matt Pease, they've done a great job with the linebackers, and you're seeing not only the guys that we had starting, but Nate's out there playing at a high level. And then up front, we got three guys that have done a phenomenal job with Hux, with Goat and Mario, and have really taken those guys and really taught them and coached them. And so those guys get all the credit. It's a phenomenal job how they all work together, and it makes it so easy that we can go out there, make a call, guys know corrections, everybody's coaching. It's phenomenal. It's the best. And here's the thing: we can still get better. Like that, we're not. And every day we push, ourselves and our players to let's take the next step and achieve the next step of this thing. Which I think there's a lot left. There's a lot left. We can still get better, a lot better. We need to. So we're not by any means, sitting and relaxing on what we have. But the players and the coaches have done a great job to get us where we are right now, and we just got to keep pushing to get better.
You said it's the best in August.
Yeah.
What were you?
In terms of the whole team, defense and everything together, it's really special to be around.
How are you preparing your defense to face 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks?
So it's a good question. But I think the right answer and the correct answer, what we're doing is we're focusing more on ourselves. Because if we start putting in, hey, if this guy's in or this guy's in, and there's a lot of unknown. And so you start chasing some things and you can get hurt with some other things. And so it's let's execute. Let's be in the right spot. Let's do our job, because there are some unknowns with the players that are going to play in the game, whoever it is. But the thing is, it always has to go back to focus on ourselves. Let's be the best at where we can be, our fundamentals, our technique. And whoever they throw out there, like, let's go play football. And then there'll be some game adjustments. That's really the in-game adjustments is where we got to be on top of our stuff. Hey, this is a little bit different or a little bit new, and we got to make the adjustments on the sideline. And the players do a great job of that, and they have a lot to say on the sideline. Coaching staff does a good job, and we'll all get together, make the adjustment, and then go out and play the next series.
Anything else? Yeah, Coach, could you speak to the different skill sets of Willis and Levis?
So Levis there's not a lot on Levis, but college and things like that. And so look, Willis, there's more on Willis. A play extender. He's an excellent play extender, moving around in the pocket, excellent scrambler, very good speed, agility. He's a tough sack. He can get the ball out. He's got a strong arm. Still a young player, still developing in the league, but there's a good skill set with him. And then, Levis is, his preseason game, some plays, and, you could see the arm talent. You see why he got drafted as high as he got drafted. Had a really good career in college. And so those guys complemented each other very well. I'm sure we'll see both of them or all three of them or however it comes down, but it'll be a good challenge for sure. Say again.
Does this week almost feel like college for you when you're talking about quarterbacks?
Yeah, I don't think that's fair.
Well, I just mean in terms of there's so many more quarterbacks, like teams in college that have, we're going to see two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was meaning not talent. I was saying more like the preparation of how you have to approach it. Is where I was going.
No, so it would have been the same approach. Like we would have focused on ourselves. Hey, here's the plan, and then we would have been prepared, just like this week, for an in-game adjustment. So if they did something different than they've shown on tape, then we've got to make the in-game adjustment and get that handled. And so that's kind of how it was, and that's how we'll approach this week and handle this week exactly on Sunday. Like, hey, they did this. Let's adjust and let's get it corrected.
What have you seen from Caleb Linden? He obviously got his contract this week.
Sure.
We talked to Chris Lindstrom about him yesterday, just going up against him in practice, talking about how he's kind of like the example of what the organization wants with his story, but just talent-wise too. Like, what do you see from him?
He's done a really good job of first day getting here and continuing to work every single day and take advantage of his opportunity. Because the player that was here the day one he has gotten so much better, and he did it in practice. A couple weeks ago, he's practicing really well. He's playing against our offense. He's had a little success in his stuff, practicing individual, and has just worked his way into in what you're seeing on Sunday. And it's really cool. It's a great story. He did. I mean, he's done it. He's put in he's done everything we've asked him to do. Technique, fundamentals, the scheme. He's a great teammate. All he does, he shows up, he works, he goes out there. We get the same guy every single day, never says anything, and took advantage of his opportunity. It's a great story. I mean, it really is. And so really excited for him. And we'll continue to progress, and he'll continue to get better. You know how it is. Play 2 games, 3 games, and, over the time and the experience, the feel of the game and things like that. And so see another step with him, this week and continuing on.
You mentioned last week that you feel like he's playing some of the best football of his career.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he's still feeling healthier and healthier each week. What does that say about him that he's playing this well? Maybe not at absolute complete strength just yet.
Yeah, it's a bright future, right? Yeah, it's exciting. It really is. Even last game, it felt at times, he was all over the place. He's making tackles, hit a really good PBU in the fourth quarter, broke on the ball. He's done that every game. He's made a couple of plays like that. And so just continuing playing like that consistently, all the time where he's making those plays, because they'll be able to play one or two there, and it could have been here a little quicker. And so I think as he continues to get healthy and playing football and, football shape and those type of things, he'll make more of those plays as we continue to go on in the season. And that's the exciting thing about it. That's where you're thinking, oh, man, he's going to take the next step. And he will, because he works at it and he does all the little things, studies the game, works on his fundamentals and technique. And he'll go out there and he'll make them more. You'll see more of those plays every game. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Doing good. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing pretty good.
Good. Well, I can start off real quick. Huge team win last week for our guys, playing all 4 quarters. Big compliment to our defense, being able in that last drive to force them to a field goal. And then also, too, our offense with Desmond, Rags, Coach Smith being able to get the ball downfield to put us in a position for Koo to go out there in our field goal protection unit to go out there and win the game for us, for the team. So big credit to our offense, big credit to our defense, and big credit to our guys on special teams playing all 4 quarters, being resilient, and knowing that there was no panic, no matter what the situation was, and we went out there and we finished and executed the game.
The coverage unit bounced back for you in that one?
And what do you mean?
After letting a big one out the game before. Punt
Talking about
coverage
the
unit.
punt coverage unit?
Yes.
Yeah, we always get better with reps. Guys did a good job covering punts. We try to keep leverage on the football. D'Angelo did a good job making a tackle in the open field. Mike is doing a great job getting downfield, being disruptive. Gunners are out there winning. I believe Matt Holland forced, I want to say his 4th or 5th penalty as a gunner with the holding call on our second punt of the game. So those guys continue to get better. Every week we're striving for perfection on all of our units. If you wanted to just talk about punt right now, and it starts with our protection, starts with Bradley doing a good job putting the ball where it needs to be D-led, and then our guys going down being relentless in coverage. So we have a lot of room, a lot of growth, and we're looking for more improvement this week, and we have a big test this week versus Tennessee.
On the end of game kicks, do you communicate any differently with that trio of Liam and Bradley and Koo? Or do you just sort of leave them on their own? They understand what, they're paying attention, they understand what's coming?
I communicate with them about the situation, Josh, when it comes to more so like, hey, we're going to use a timeout here. Hey, this may be a hurry-up field goal. Depending on the situation, when we are going to kick a field goal, when we are going to go for it. But other than that, when it comes to their techniques, we put the work in starting back with phase 2, phase 3, OTAs, training camp, practice. So when it comes to those situations, it's another kick for us, whether it's a PAT or if it's a 51-yard game winner. Technique-wise, we're good to go. If I'm have to get dialed in on their technique and their contact in game, I didn't do my job and we didn't do our job throughout the week. But it's more so the situation, where the ball's going to be, yard line, and having those guys understand that. I try to keep less off their play as possible, and then even with that information, I try to limit that information so they can just focus at the task at hand.
So you were in a situation there where offensively you could have tried to dig out 10 more yards, or you could just play very conservatively and sit at 51. In terms of Koo's comfort level and your comfort level with Koo at the distance, that decision is made pregame every week, or is that decision made, are you talking to him in that series saying, are you okay here? Would you like us to, do we need to get it?
That's something that we, as a staff, coaching staff, head coach, myself, our special teams coaches, Hoffman, Coach Baker, and the specialists, those are things that we talk about prior to the game, going into the week. And then also when we get to the stadium, if we're playing at an outdoor stadium, that's a huge variable. Hey, which end zone do we want to ideally kick our field goal to, whether it's end of half or end of game? Those are discussions that we have, and it's a lot of trust into our players because they're the ones out there playing. So there's a huge conversation that I have with the specialists, and then we have with Coach Smith. So when we get in those situations, it's less conversation and more just executing the task at hand.
So would Youngway give you a distance, like pregame, so we're talking in warm-ups, 30 minutes before the game,
Yes, sir.
would Youngway give you a distance and say, if you need me, I'm fine from 56 on this end of the field and 52 on this end of the field?
Oh,
Does that have
only
specific-
56? I don't
know.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. Well, yeah, we'll have yard lines based on the direction. If it's an end of half kick, if it's a first, second drive of the first quarter, third quarter, there's different lines for different situations. If we got to have it, just like last year versus New Orleans, this ball's at the 45-yard line. Without a doubt, we're putting that field goal unit out there. It's a got to have a situation because he does have the distance. So we have got to have it situations, and then we have just our basic situations in the middle of the game when it comes to that.
How much is that maybe dictated by how he's kicking during the week, or is that almost a total, like, even if he's maybe not kicking well during the week, on Sunday you know what you think you're getting situation?
It just depends on the definition of what's kicking well. If you're going off, hey, did he make, let's say, 12 out of 13 field goals in a week? Does that mean he's kicking well? Or how is the contact on the football? How's his body feeling? So that's kind of a complex question based on that, because it depends on how he's feeling, depends on how he has contact on the ball, depends on where we're playing at, and it depends also, too, the next level of the situation in the game, too. So he's been feeling well. He's doing a great job. Every time he's out there working on field goals, we don't get fixated on the results. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he made 6 of 6 yesterday, because that's irrelevant. It's the process. It's the contact. It's the operation between Liam, Bradley. How are we protecting? All those things play an account to our decisions when we get to game day, when we get to Sunday, and when we get to fourth down situations or gotta have it situations.
I mean, I covered the Neil Martin Crater deal for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take for that to really mesh to where it can get to its peak form?
It depends. We have the trio that we have with Bradley, Liam, and Koo, which is a blessing. I love working with those guys. We love having them here. They're a huge part of our organization. We talk about the specialists. It depends. And I will say this, Mike, there's no shortcuts to that relationship. There's always going to be uncomfortable situations because there are 3 different personalities. I'm not saying that's bad. Uncomfortable is not bad. It could just be, hey, there are 3 different personalities. But if you have faith in what you're doing and you're fine with being uncomfortable, that allows for great growth. And those guys have grown tremendously when Liam got here during phase 2 or 3 last year, when Bradley got here right before training camp, and then having Koo here since I've been here, and he's been here prior to 2019. So those guys put in the work. They spend time with each other. They do a great job communicating with each other, being very transparent, and understanding they understand each one of them need each other so they can go out there and do their job at the highest level.
You may have answered this at some point in the past. Apologies in advance.
Y'all good.
What's your role in terms of game management, time management, throughout, not just with specialty, but just overall, because it's been pretty clear that you have roles larger than just kickers, punters, at least on game day. What's your role when it comes to time management properly?
My role is just to make sure that I'm organized and prepared as a coach. It varies each and every week. My job is to be the best coordinator for the Falcons and the best coach for Arthur Smith, and to be prepared for any opportunity before it presents itself, and be able to give him information based on certain situations. It varies each and every week. Coach Smith does a tremendous job of being dialed in, because it's hard, calling plays and being situationally aware and then handling the refs. And there's a lot of different variables that the head coach carries, especially being a play caller. And anytime he needs my assistance or another coach's assistance with something, and he's looking for a particular answer, it's my job to be able to have every, T crossed, every I dotted, to be able to answer those questions for him. So it varies. It varies each and every week. It varies each and every year. It varies each and every game. It may vary within the game. And all I try to do as an individual is be prepared for any opportunity to help our head coach out.
Does Koo ever surprise you? I mean, we're not even halfway through the season, and he's already had multiple game-winning kicks.
Aaron, to answer that question, no, he doesn't surprise me, because I know the work that he puts in and day out. I've been blessed to work with him since 2018. I know there was a big gap in between 18 and 21, but we stayed in contact, and to see how much he's grown as an individual and the success that he has had both on and off the field is not a surprise, because the way he goes about his business and the type of person he is. He puts in a lot of work. I know a lot of people just see him kicking field goals on Sundays, but the process and the work that he puts in, the way he takes care of his body, the way he's trying to be the best teammate that he can be for his team out here in Atlanta is cool. And when you see a guy make a field goal, whether it's a PAT or it's a game-winning field goal, the excitement that you see, or let's say this, Taryn, before the kick, the calmness that we have on the sideline. Whether that ball goes in or not, people believe in Koo, and they believe in our specialists. When we were just talking about Koo, he's a good person. He's likable. You know, as a kicker, I think you need to have a kicker that is a great teammate, because it's not always going to be perfect when it comes to kicking field goals. That's a hard position to play, and that's a one down. And right now, Koo's just kicking field goals. So if he plays 4 reps, those 4 reps are directly correlated to him putting points on the board. There's going to be a time where he does miss one. Everybody going to hang their head down at him because he's not a likable person or talk behind his back, or they're going to be rooting for him and going and saying, hey, we're going to get the next one because of his mindset, who he is as an individual, and who he is as a leader. So it doesn't surprise me what he's doing, and his best days are yet to come because he knows that we have a lot of work to put in to finish the season strong.
Yeah, Coach, just the Tennessee specialist, can you give us the 4-1-1 on Mr. Ryan Stonehouse? Nick Folk, looked like Phillips did the punt returning, and looked like Spears is getting a lot of fair catches as a kickoff.
Yeah, now we talk about their specialists, Stonehouse, strong leg. Any opportunity he gets, he's going to flip the field. And it's a big credit to Craig Ackerman, who also was my first special teams coordinator I worked for the San Diego Chargers, gave me my first opportunity in the NFL. He's doing a great job with the specialists there. Nick Folk hasn't missed a kick yet this season. He's had a great career. He's been doing a great job as a kicker. He's smooth with his approach, gets a great rise on his football when it comes to field goals, and he's accurate when it comes to kickoffs as well. And then you talk about the long snapper, Cox. He's been really good too. Been stout in protection, gives Stonehouse a good ball to work with punts and with field goals. And then the returners, Phillips, coming out of UCLA last year, second-year player, he does a good job getting vertical with the football, and he can find open space to get to the field. I believe last year in one of his first game of the season, first or second game of the season, he had a big return versus the Giants where he did a good job catching in traffic and getting to the field. And then you talk about the returner, Spears. If he's back there, he gets vertical. He's another weapon for them on offense. And if we see Jackson back there as a returner, if he's off of IR, had the privilege to be around him at the East-West Shrine game. I know he didn't play that game because of an injury, but he's an overall great quality dude. I could see why guys like blocking hard for him, whether it was at Georgia or with the Titans. I know he played earlier in the season versus his first game was versus the Saints, and he did a good job of catching the ball and getting vertical. Our hands are going to be full. This is a physical unit. And another part you want to talk about, D-Led, Danico Autry. He blocked a field goal in London, and he has 11 career field goal blocks. And he's been very disruptive as a rusher on field goal block. Whether you talk about Jeffrey Simmons, Arden Key, there's going to be it's going to be a physical game on all 3 phases, offense, defense, and special teams. And our guys look forward to the challenge, and we're going to put in another great day of work so we can go out there and put our offense and defense in the best position possible to win the field position battle and put points on the board.
Anything else, Coach? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Marquice. You too. How do you fix Desmond's, I guess, ball security issues at the moment?
You use the word fix. I understand that. I think for us, right, it goes back. You learn something every game, right? There's fundamentals that when you think through the position of playing quarterback, there's some fundamentals that are non-negotiable. And people always talk about footwork and shoulders and hip rotation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact of protecting the football, especially when you're taking off and you're running. You turn into a running back in that case once you pass the line of scrimmage, right? The ball security is a must just for every player, not just Desmond, but all who carry the ball. And again, players know that, obviously. But make sure we're continuing to emphasize, specifically in the quarterback room, the importance, obviously, of ball security. Those type of things, when you watch the tape, there's a lot of good things on offense, but the things that are holding us back are some of the self-infliction, making sure we protect the football.
toward the end of that game, Cordero, it looked like he was like looking for people to kind of run over. It seemed like there was a different attitude to the run game in Tampa. What does Cordero kind of mean for that attitude, that kind of like the way that you want to run the ball?
What throws me off is I know him a long time. I don't think I've ever called him by that name. Right. So when you first said it, I was like, okay. No, look, CP has a certain distinct running style. We've seen it here. We've seen it in places before here. He feeds off certain energies. I think each person that has the football in their hand, it might not just be the running back, could be the wide out, tight ends, quarterback, but there's certain demeanor, right? You can sense a pattern of demeanor in which they like to carry the football in terms of seeking out contact or making someone miss. Like CP knows, obviously he's one of the bigger backs in the open field. Sometimes he chooses not to make a guy miss, and sometimes he chooses to go through the straight path, right? And look, I've been a part of some of his kick returns live and in person. I've seen him make guys miss. I've seen him run through guys. He just has a knack of playing a certain way with a certain level of violence that I think fits him. But it's not one size fits all, right? So again, if other people are trying to mimic what he does on certain runs, right, it's probably not going to work out the exact same. But I have appreciation for how he plays. I love the energy in which he plays. A lot of our guys are like that. It's contagious. You can feel it. And again, it was cool to see him get going and help the football team.
When you knew Bijan wasn't going to play a big role in that game, was there a challenge for those guys to kind of make that kind of running style and emphasis there?
I understand. That's a good question. I don't. That'd be I'm not trying to be a cop on it. That'd be a great question for them. For us, right? I think each guy has to be their own person, regardless of how they feel they're part of the plan. When they get their chance, never know when it's going to happen. You just have to go out and execute to what you think is your best ability. And you saw that. And it was cool to see. There's a lot of guys stepping up in different situations. And what I love about this offense is, yes, are there things that we need to grow from and learn from and be better? Absolutely. There's no doubt. But at the end of the game, with everything on the line, what you see is a group of men go out there, and there's a calmness, regardless of how much time, the situation. They understand the objective, and it's, again, to be part of a group that you just feel there's a certain level of trust and belief in one another that they're going to find a way. It's just an awesome thing to be a part of. And again, we don't want to make every game go down to the wire. I get all that. We want to be better on offense and specifically ball security. But to see guys come together right before your eyes, and that's why it's called a team, right? Team sport. It's why one of the reasons why I do what I do, and I'm just humbled to be part of seeing this group grow.
Yeah, Coach, could you talk about or discuss Daniel Smith's role in the offense and how he's been able to be productive?
Sure. He's another guy that was brought in the offseason with familiarity. What you like about that room, and I know we're speaking of John, but that room in particular is, man, they're a group that really pushes each other. They have a different skill set, almost each one of them does. But man, with the ball in their hands, and they're talking about multiple guys in that room, with the ball in their hands, and they're effective. They each have their own way of getting open, and Jonnu is different than Kyle, and Kyle is different than Prue. And so when you see all that unfold, they're hard to tackle, right? When you got those guys with the ball in their hand, they're some of the bigger guys out there, and they get to the second level, third level. Obviously, we like to see that in offense, get those guys the ball like that, but I just like the way he approaches his job, D. Like when he comes into meetings, when he goes out to the practice field, his professionalism, his seriousness, and it gels the group as one of the veteran guys in there.
How was he, and I guess credit to the coaches, able to, come out the gate already into, new guy into the offense and kind of like Desmond's security blanket?
Well, he's had familiarity. I mean, with some of the things that we do, obviously, we look to evolve offensively. But I think it's a credit to a lot of the guys. what you love about when the ball is going to different places is guys are, when they get the opportunity, they're making the most out of it. And you become harder to stop when the ball is being spread out. Different guys are getting balls, right? They're in different situations. So when a defense is looking at you and they're trying to take things away, it's hard to take everything away. And so when the ball is being spread out in different areas and we're attacking defenses different ways, I think that puts a lot more pressure on the defense to try to figure out, okay, what do we really want to take away here? And again, that's a credit to all the guys that go out there and play with a certain level of confidence, but a standard in which, hey, if I get an opportunity, I'm going to take the most of it.
How, the way you guys have been using pits this year, how maybe you feel like that's changed from a year ago?
Well, that's a good question because I think sample size last year was different, right, than it was in 21. And because of injury, because of certain things of that nature, and then coming back from an injury and getting him going, then there's a new tight, and think about his tight end room for 3 years, right? Same position coach, but different guys in that room. And what you see from Kyle is he's a year older, right? He's experienced different things. He understands different things now than he did in 21. He's got a different quarterback throwing him than he did in 21 and parts of 22, and then out into 23. And you're seeing the adaptability of not just him, but other guys. And you're seeing the comfort level of the quarterback having an understanding of body language and when a guy's open and how he sees them and how he feels in that route. And there's so much that goes into that, right? And really the only way you really get to that comfort level is time on task. Training, practice, talking, conversations, continue to do it off to the side, during practice. Like you see it, you feel it, right? You feel a unit coming together non-verbally, understanding each other's cues. You see the questions being asked at a high level, full understanding of how we're trying to execute or what we're trying to do this week in the game plan, which would be no different this week, right? I mean, you got a defensive structure that's going to cause a lot of issues for us to solve. They got really good players at all 3 levels. And a head coach that I got to know a little bit, who I feel like I know a lot more just because of what I hear, who I have the utmost respect for, even though he's Walsh Jesuit, St. Ignatius, a little bit of a rival, a little bit, right? But, we're going to have our hands full here come Sunday in Nashville.
Well, I guess what I was getting at was the way you're using him in terms of where you're lining him up, how you're treating him. Now, it seems like it's almost more like it was his rookie year where he was out wide in a slot, than that's in the second year where he was a tight end, more on the line, it seems
Sure.
like more often. Is that, am I missing something there? Or?
I don't think you're missing something. I don't think, again, we had numbers in front of us. What we try to do, right, is like anybody on offense, is try to create the advantage pre-snap. And again, Kyle, just like a number of our players, right? I know that word a couple years ago, positionless, got thrown around a lot with us. I'm just saying, like, we're able to allow our players to play in certain positions that maybe isn't always just standard. And so when the huddle breaks, right, you're going to have to find certain guys that may not just be in their cookie cutter position because that's the way it was on the roster and they say they're this position and therefore they have to be here. But again, offensive football will come down to giving your players the most advantage pre-snap and obviously their ability to execute post-snap. But it's our job to make sure we try to create the advantage for them.
So, do you consider him a tight end then?
Josh, just follow up. I'm not giving you the answer you want, right? Let's talk about donuts again. Look, I think for us, right, we just let's break a formation, right? Let's look at the first play of the game last week, okay? So again, we line up in a certain formation, we send a certain type of motion, and then who caught the first ball, right? Red does, right? So again, it's, the reason I'm using that play, for example, is there's a number of plays, right? When you watch us, again, we're trying to create that issue. Kyle may line up in the 3-point stance, right? Or he may line up in a 2-point and be all the way at number 1 or number 2 weak or number 2 strong or number 1 strong or number 3 to the 3-by-1 or number 2. But again, the labels of those things within what we try to do, again, yes, just to make sure guys know what they are, we give guys certain position values, right? They're the H or the X or certain that. But again, for us, it's about how do we see the defense, how do we see ourselves, and how do we give our players a chance. So cows the Y or the F or the H or the Z or the W or the whatever, that's, to me, or for us, that's not as much as importance of how do we get guys in position to be successful. That definitely didn't answer it. I'm 0 for 3. Okay?
No, I actually kind of did.
You mentioned feeling like you know Vrabel a little more than you actually do. I get the sense that you sort of see his imprint really clearly on Arthur.
That would not be fair for me to say that, just because of, yes, I know that there is from what Art has told me about him, there is such an admiration for the man that Coach Vrabel is. But I was never in the building with him in terms of coaching style and stuff like that. In terms of how he sees and respects the individual and the person, yeah, I mean, I've known Art a long time. I would say that he talks about Coach Vrabel in a very, in a distinguished way in terms of, has a ton of appreciation for him as a person and what he stands for. And again, I've encountered him in NFL functions, never been on his staff or worked with him, but you know, again, you can feel his imprint. You can see how his teams play. I mean, they play hard, they're smart, they're tough, they try to take things away. They try to play a game a certain way. They have a style in which they want to go in that game and play. And they're trying to take things away from you, and they're trying to make that game, right, and giving their players the best chance to be successful. But you can feel it. You can feel how those guys go out and play, and they understand their objective. Like, you play certain teams, and they're really good. They have really good players. And you play other teams, right, that have the same amount of talent. But then all of a sudden, one week they're playing one way, and the next week they're playing completely different. And they're getting their job done, and you can tell, right, that next week they went into that game plan saying, hey, we need to take this away, do this, and they accomplished that. And you could just tell, like, he's a very smart football coach. He can coach all 3 levels in terms of special teams, offense, defense, and you can feel they play in a unique way that plays to their advantage, where they think they can go win the game by playing to those advantages.
A little bit of a different vein. Are Arthur's Pat McAfee appearances must-see TV in the office?
So I've never seen it, because we're usually like in a, you know, for whatever reason, I just don't care. Was it a 5-minute segment or something like that?
I don't know. I've never watched it.
People, I get text about it, and I guess it's people that I know that know him, like, love the segment. So I must maybe go back and watch it or something like that.
We see clips every now and then that they put online.
You like, you seen it?
Yeah, I was
Wait,
at the cigar bar last Friday.
Okay.
I texted
Yeah.
him. Yeah, he said next time I'll drop her name.
Oh, a shout out.
Yeah, go give me a shout out.
Yeah.
Still waiting for a shout out.
Okay, but the cigar bar though.
Yeah.
What's your go-to cigar?
Rocky Patel.
Okay.
1991 Connecticut.
I'm talking donuts. He's talking 1990 Rocky Patel. No, mine, right, is a 2023 cream-filled Cronut. Right, donut. That would be where I would go, right? We good there?
Anything else? There's plenty of donuts places that you can go in Atlanta, man. You just,
No, I try me. I that's in the off seasons, weekends. It's I take the kids, we Google search it, and we roll.
The salty donut.
Just
Yeah,
always
good. Oh, yeah.
They just opened one.
Been to 3 different locations.
Is that right?
3 different states.
Oh God, yeah.
Revolution.
Commonalities, man. Let's roll.
Revolution, Little Tart.
You should write a whole article on just that. Like, you should
Do
have.
not tempt me with this.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it, man.
thanks,
Thank
All
you,
right.
Dave.